Hello and welcome to Cynical Optimists. I am haddowinc.
And I am NGM.
In our 6th episode, we are going to be discussing crowdfunding websites. However, first, we do the news, as always.
That's the normal routine. And as per the normal routine, we'll also start with film and TV news. In fact, no, actually, fuck the order. Phil, can I talk about music?
I guess.
Right, it's again just another little recommendation. I've been listening to music on Apple's new streaming service, Apple Music, and I came across a band called Portugal the Man, and the album's called Evil Friends, and it's very good. So that's my recommendation of the week. Favourite song on it, what's a song called Modern Jesus, and it's very good.
So Apple Music is not the same as iTunes.
No, Apple Music is a service similar to that other one. Spotify, that's the one. You get 3 months for free, and then it's $9.99 a month. It sounds like a lot, but cancel one of the many video subscription services I'm signed up to, and I'm there. Yeah, you can basically, it creates sort of like radio stations for you, so you can just click on a genre or a mood or something, and it will basically come up with this playlist for you, and it will, songs you've never heard before will pop up, songs you have heard before will pop up. It's a pretty good service, and you can download them all offline as well, which is really good.
I'm surprised they didn't tie it into the iTunes brand. That's the only reason I make that off comment.
Yeah, it's actually on the newest update, it replaces the music app on your... Well, it doesn't replace, it sort of integrates with the existing music app on iPhones, iPads, iPods, etc.
Okay.
So it still has the same... It still goes under a brand that does exist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think iTunes... What put people off is that iTunes... I mean, that's the thing, it's shifted... You know, there's little tabs down the bottom with like music, video, etc.
I think so, yeah. I don't use iTunes much.
Well, that would be the only problem, I think, is because they'd have to shift it all over, whereas now, integrating it with the music app, they've just shifted the iPod thing over to one tab.
Okay. Yeah, I think...
No, it's a very good service. Apologies to break this routine and talk about music, but I think it's worth talking about. I mean, plus I'm an Apple whore as well, so...
Yeah, well, that big check is in the post for you mentioning it on this podcast, isn't it?
They're sending me my watch for free now.
They're very silly with their money. They're a bigger podcast they could bribe.
yeah, they've sent it to one that gets an average of, like, 10 viewers.
Yeah, it's a good 10 viewers, though.
Yeah, it's a good 10 viewers. It's a committed fan base, that's the thing.
Yes.
Yes, anyway, I'll move on to film and TV news. Starting, of course, with a bit of Marvel.
Oh, as always.
As always. It's unfortunately about Ant-Man again, which I'm kind of getting fed up with seeing news about. But on the plus side, the newest trailer shows Anthony Mackie's Falcon appearing.
That's cool. Yeah.
I mean, he's an Avenger now.
Yeah.
So... At least there are sort of links to the main Avengers film, rather than just using the Avengers films to market Ant-Man, which they seem to have been doing so far.
When is Ant-Man out now? Is it the end of this month? I know it's July, I think.
I don't know. I haven't really put a date in my diary for Ant-Man, if I'm honest. I mean, I don't wish Marvel a flop, but... I mean, this is the only one I'm not seeing much potential for so far, but I don't know, it might be good, maybe.
I think it will depend if anyone I know wants to go see it, whether I see it now or whether I wait until it's at my university cinema in about 6 months for £3.
I might wait till a Netflix or a Rent release or something.
Yeah.
Not really fussed about that film, to be honest.
Well, it looks better than Fantastic Four looks. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, do you think? I don't know. The Fantastic Four actually looks quite... I don't know.
it looks worrying the little they've shown of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Until right up near release, and now
I don't know. At least it's got who's the director again? It's not. Was it Josh Trank?
Not sure. I know that supposedly Doctor Doom in this one is like an internet blogger or something like that. I know that was a big piece of news about a year ago, as it was one of the only pieces of information.
They showed a bit of him in the trailer, and he still had a metal face. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that might be quite a cool thing because they might sort of link it into like the anonymous like thing. I don't know. I reckon Fantastic Four actually has a bit more potential than Ant-Man.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing just they seem to be like I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of tropes just kind of mashed together.
Yeah.
But then I'm quite. Me and you are very opposite on this. You're cynical about Ant-Man, whereas I'm optimistic, and you're optimistic about Fantastic Four, whereas I'm cynical.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, yeah, they're sort of direct competition as well. When's Fantastic Four out?
I know it's this summer, but
right.
I don't know a specific date. I think it might be late summer.
This is actually quite a big sort of Marvel versus.
Well, this is
Fox.
Marvel versus other Marvel, which is owned by Fox.
This is like a Marvel versus Fox face-off, which we haven't really had yet, have we?
No, we had
Days of Future Past and Winter Soldier. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know Sony's been like, because the thing is, none of them really want to compete with each other. Like when I think it's the Justice League film got moved, so it wouldn't be clashing with one of the big Marvel films or something like that.
Oh, Batman versus Superman had to move for Captain America 3.
Yeah, that was it.
I still find that adorable. I mean, I think we're both a bit cynical about Batman versus Superman, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
I still need to see Man of Steel. It's just I don't.
Oh God!
I just don't want to put myself through it.
No, I don't. Again, maybe that could be like a bonus video because maybe we could sort of meet up, watch Man of Steel, and record and do some reactions.
Oh yeah, yes.
Next week is our next week. There won't be a podcast because it's our week off. So we could meet up and do a reaction video.
We could get round to playing some Injustice as well. So it'll be our little DC bonus video roundup, won't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. We might do that next week, depending on if we can.
Well, we might record it next week, whether it gets edited and broadcast.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't need that much editing. We'll just put Cynical Optimist extra, and we'll just sort of whack that over the title screen. That'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair, I guess.
We might do that. We might do that.
But if we do Injustice, that will take more editing, so that might be post the end of the first season. It might be what replaces it on a Friday.
Right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Good point. Plans for the future of Cynical Optimists. Nice. We have a future, Phil.
Yay!
Other film news. There hasn't been a lot this week. Have you seen the ad? Oh, fucking hell, I'm doing Apple again, I've just realised. Seen the advert for Steve Jobs?
Oh, is that the documentary thing?
It's a sort of biopic, docudrama thing.
Oh, biopic, yeah. I haven't seen it, but I knew it was happening.
Danny Boyle directing. I really like
that could be good. Danny Boyle's a good director.
Danny Boyle. And Michael Fassbender starring, so...
Oh, it's got a decent few people in it.
Oh yeah,
it
could be good. And the trailer went up in the last week, and that does actually look really good. To be fair, who else has it got? It's got unfortunately Seth Rogen, who I don't really like, but he playing Steve wasn't it? The other guy from Apple, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so that might be a good film.
So is that in pre-production or is that in...
No, the trailer's just been released.
Okay, so it's going to be post, isn't it?
So I'm presuming it's all put together. I don't actually know when it's out.
Yeah.
But yeah, the news is that there's a trailer, basically.
Okay.
That's some film news I'm going to use later about the Leonard Nimoy film. We'll integrate that into our big discussion. What else have we got? Oh, I have seen... Oh, hang on, no, before I go on to that. Disney.
Disney?
That small independent production company.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
They're a bit of a niche if you haven't heard of them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know that film that they made ages ago? Oh, no, actually, no. Who is it? Oh, yes, you've heard of Cinderella?
Yes, vaguely.
Yeah, that sort of... Oh, it was released a few years ago. I don't think many people saw it, but you know, recently they made a live-action version of that film.
I think so. Yeah.
Now they're planning... fucking hell, I can't believe I'm saying this. A live-action spin-off of Cinderella called Prince Charming.
So, will it follow the Prince Charming story?
Yes. I'm fed up of the fucking franchise, Phil. Why does everything, literally everything, have to be a franchise now?
Well, what does Prince Charming even fucking do?
Exactly!
He gets ready for the dance, he meets a lady,
he
and then
walks
he
around
goes
with a
around
shoe.
looking for her for a while.
Hell. I mean, if it's... I'm angry about that. Just walking around with a shoe for the fucking story, like...
It'll be like a 2-hour runtime as well.
Sponsored by Nike, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be like... We will have his Beats headphones around his neck as well.
But, oh, Jesus, I'm really fucking fed up with franchise films. And spin-offs, and... Oh! And I bet any money they'll call it Charming.
There is a chance, isn't there?
Yeah. Like, because... Fucking hell, films. Ah!
I'm not fed up with franchise films. I'm fed up with franchises for the sake of franchises.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair, yeah. No, some franchises work well, others...
It's when studios go, look how much money that makes, and then just does it purely for, like, financial, rather than seeing some kind of merit to the narrative that it could create.
In fact, I think this has been part of our discussion before, hasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Well, it has been a big discussion before, so I'm not going to bang on about it again, but either way...
If you want to hear more about our discussion about franchises, sequels and reboots, go and check out episode 3 of the podcast.
3? Definitely 3, was it?
It was, well, we called it Frequel, so...
Okay, yeah, good point. Ah, yeah, so we did. What was the E3 one? That wasn't episode 3.
That was 2 was predictions, 4 was feedback.
Why didn't we make it episode 3? Because then our pun title could have been just E3.
Because the weeks don't work like that.
Or EP3.
Maybe we can do that for a future season that takes place in June.
Okay. Yeah. Series 2.
Going on to the future discussion again.
We think we've got a future. Actually, speaking of franchises, tenuous link. I went and saw the new Terminator.
Oh, what did you think of it?
Okay, it wasn't a 1-star film. I disagree with the critics. I think they were a bit harsh. I mean,
okay, so it's not a 1-star film.
No, there are worse films out there, to be honest.
I'm sure there are.
But but on the flip side, it wasn't very good.
Like, it wasn't the trilogy starter that everyone hoped for.
Well, maybe, because I mean, no, I say it wasn't good. It's very, very standard 21st century action film.
Were there any twists in it, without spoilers? Were there any twists in it that weren't in the trailer?
Yes, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention anything, but
because that's just become a given nowadays. The big twist will probably be in the trailer somewhere.
There was a big mystery over, because I'm sure you know, and apologies if I spoil this, but Matt Smith's in this film.
Yes.
And his role was, again, I'm trying not to give too much away, but that was quite a big twist.
Did he perform his role well?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not enough of him, I'd say.
Because I've always been a bit worried about Matt Smith just being a bit typecast after
being
a very prancy Doctor.
No, I mean, genuinely quite a cool character. But again, I don't think he got quite enough screen time. But I'm hoping more Terminator films do get made, purely so we can see a bit more of that character and a bit more... I mean, there are a lot of good stuff in it in terms of story. In terms of backstory and detail in some of the characters, I actually quite liked. it sort of leaves you wanting a bit more, because it's got some cool moments in, but again, it's not a great film, if I'm honest, because, well, it's just not. I mean, like, that's the thing. They've done the thing that all films do at the moment, is they think bigger means better.
Yeah.
Whereas increasing the set pieces and increasing the scale of things doesn't necessarily help, because Terminator 1 and 2 were so cool because they were so enclosed.
Yeah.
Like, it was all within, like, pretty much the same city. You just had this very intense sort of, like, he's hunting them sort of thing, whereas in Genisys it's like, oh, we've got to go to San Francisco and then towards another American city, and we've got to go there, and we've got to flip a bus, and we've got to do all this, that and the other. Whereas the best Terminator films were very enclosed. You just sort of, the shots were so simple, like that shot of just Arnold Schwarzenegger in the first film just driving around in the car, and it was an interior shot of his face just sort of glaring around, and like that's what makes a film more intense. This one's very sort of PG-13 reboot. It does try to appeal to a bigger audience, because, I mean, to be fair, like the Terminator, like branding and the robots and everything always will appeal to that sort of audience, because it's sort of around the Transformers sort of vein potentially, and that is the only thing they've done with it. And I've said before, I mean, I'd find the Transformers movies entertaining, not necessarily good, and that's what I'd say similarly about Genisys.
Okay, that's fair enough. Like,
I mean, like, I loved the original Terminator films. I mean, as much as a lot of critics and people got offended by Genisys because it completely sort of offends them because of how good 2 and 1 were.
Doesn't it flip the continuity on its head a bit? Like, Days of Future Past.
Yeah, I mean, it pays reference heavily to 2 and 1, and although it doesn't get anywhere near matching those films, it doesn't insult me, because it still respects what came before it, even if it lacks the intensity and the
yes,
yeah, everything
some
else.
of the best films are quite create a sense of isolation and like being in a small space, don't they?
Exactly.
Like the original Alien film is an example, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And like there's that Doctor Who episode where they spend essentially the entire episode in just that very small spaceship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was
Midnight,
yeah.
And that's a great episode, because it's like something doesn't need to get bigger every single time.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
it's about how.
But my sort of main point is, like, I don't know why the critics were quite so angry, because I really do not blame the producers of Terminator for, like, they're making a film about robots and stuff. Like, it's quite a lot of money being spent on it. They need an audience, and therefore they do need to dumb it down a bit with explosions and this, that and the other. I mean, as much as it doesn't make a great film, it makes an entertaining film. It still pays respect to the stories that came before it, and yeah, that's about it.
I mean, I in a sense, it might be the actors' wages that make up a lot of the budget in some respects, but if you made it a small, more isolationist film, wouldn't that be cheaper anyway?
Well, yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, the first Terminator was really low budget, and it worked amazingly. But again, like the studio spent a lot of money buying the Terminator brand and stuff. They need to make some of that back. Yeah, and I don't really blame them for that, even though it's not an amazing film. It's still not a film that disappoints, to be honest. I wasn't disappointed when I left the cinema. I still had all the cheesy lines, the dun 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 music. That was cool. But
was it comparing it to another continuation of a long-living franchise, fifth installment? Is it better or worse than Die Hard 5?
You know, I got 20 minutes through Die Hard 5. If that. Honestly, like, the messiest film. Fucking hell, Die Hard 5. Like, it just starts off without. Nothing makes sense either. It's just, we're in Russia. That's my son. Why am I fucking here in the first place? It's just. Fuck Die Hard 5. That is a film that makes me angry.
So it's better than Die Hard 5.
Yeah. And
Now that is something you can put in the trailer.
I'd argue
better than Die Hard 5.
I think I've taken better shits than Die Hard 5. But I think it was actually better than Terminator 3 as well.
Okay, yeah.
Rise of the Machines, that was awful. I mean, yeah, marginally better, but better.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's my feature finished on Terminator Genisys. Do go and see it because it is good entertainment, but don't expect Judgment Day, because Judgment Day is the best film made ever in 1990. Now,
cool.
Phil, you've got a tenuous link to bring us on to.
Well, my tenuous link is that I also have TV news, which then leads on to me doing gaming news.
Ah.
So, I mean, that's almost as tenuous as you get, because the only link is the fact that I'm talking. But yes, it's TV, and it's for anyone who, well, either if you watched Dragon Ball Z as a kid, or if you just watch it because Team 4 Star does the incredibly popular parody of it. But a new Dragon Ball series has premiered in Japan this week. I think it's been about 15 years or something since the last one ended.
Right.
But there's been 2 revival films over the last few years called Battle of Gods, and Resurrection F is coming out this summer. And now there is a new series to follow on from that called Dragon Ball Super, following the events of Dragon Ball Z and with a story by the series' original creator. So, I mean, if you're into, well, if you've ever seen Dragon Ball, I'd suggest checking it out. The first episode, well, it hasn't, I'm sure it'll probably be a while until the dub comes out, but I'm sure if you looked, you could probably find a subtitled version to watch. But it essentially just follows on directly from the events. The first story arcs are going to be a almost like it's going to be the 2 revival films, but in a kind of half-an-hour TV format as the first 2 arcs before introducing to the new stuff. So I think, one, that's better than them just filling it up with just stupid filler, which is something that Japanese TV is fucking known for. And 2, if somebody didn't go to the cinema to watch one of the 2 revival films, having them on TV in a more explained, more detailed versions might be good, just to introduce to the change in dynamics since the last series ended, get people back into it. But yes, that was my TV news. Yeah. And now, on to gaming news.
Oh, well done.
Yes. So, first, a history lesson. Did you know that around the time of the Super Nintendo, the SNES, so when Sony was first looking to go into the video game market, they were actually going to collaborate with Nintendo on something that's called the PlayStation.
Oh.
It was essentially a Super Nintendo that took discs.
Wow.
However, I think it was due to one of the companies demanding a bit too much percentage-wise of the deal. The deal fell through, and then obviously history unfolded. Sony made the PlayStation, Nintendo went on and made the Nintendo 64, and they've been kind of competing ever since.
Yeah, competing. That's crazy, actually, isn't it? Like, Sony now, I mean, I know you're still a Nintendo man, but fucking hell, they went to Nintendo.
Well, the thing is, like, back in the day, Nintendo were the kings.
Well, yeah, good point. Yeah.
I could talk all day about the history of gaming ever since the video game market crash in the early 80s. I could probably tell you most of video game history from then. Maybe a little bit of the stuff beforehand. But no, this is relevant because this week pictures have arisen of what the rumoured system was. Like, somebody has found one of these prototype Sony Nintendo collaborations. So if you go onto Polygon or think Kotaku, one of the gaming websites, they both, I think, have articles on it with pictures. And it looks quite interesting. It looks like kind of like a Super Nintendo that's just been a bit modded a little.
Is that someone's found it then, have they?
So I think a prototype has been found because they made these prototypes to show off, and then the deal fell through, so they both went their separate ways.
Right. God, that must be worth a bit.
Imagine if it hadn't been. Like, imagine if the deal had gone through, though. You'd have had Sony and Nintendo as a team.
Do you think it would have worked
at the time
in the long term?
Maybe. It really depends. It would have probably hinged on the success of the collaborated PlayStation. Mostly, because if the PlayStation was a flop, they'd have probably blamed each other and split apart anyway. But if it had been a success, they may have stuck together. But yes, that was back in the days when Nintendo ruled the roost and they were mostly competing with Sega. But as then Sega dropped out of the console market, Microsoft entered, and you have the current dynamic. But yes, that is that is my first piece of news. Now on to the next piece of news.
That's good. That's a good way to do it. Finish the first before moving on.
Next is Minecraft news.
Christ.
As you know, Minecraft is probably the most popular thing in the universe at this point.
In this bricky universe we live in.
If you don't know what Minecraft is, you've probably never been anywhere, because even in like a bookshop nowadays, they have those Minecraft books, and there's the Minecraft Lego, which seems like a really redundant concept to me. It's the brick version of a brick game, or I don't know. But yes, there's two pieces of news for that. There is Minecraft Story Mode has had its first look released. Minecraft Story Mode being in development by the same people who make the Walking Dead games, who made the Back to the Future games.
Oh, okay, that's I can't remember the name.
No, nor can I. I should have written it down.
Oh. I know who you mean.
Yeah, the same people who made...
No, it's not Telltale.
Oh, Telltale Games.
Telltale, right, yeah.
Yeah, Telltale Games. So the first look of that has been released.
Oh.
So
Story Mode? What?
Yeah, the question that's still on everybody's... Well, maybe not everybody's, but at least mine. Quite a few comments.
Every 5-year-old boy's mind.
Well, the 5-year-old boys are probably wetting themselves with excitement, but I'm just thinking, why? Like, it's a sandbox game. It's like making a story mode for The Sims. Like, the whole point is that you do your own thing, so...
And then again, Lego games worked.
Yeah, but Lego games are kind of like a
story based on something else, yeah.
Yeah, they always have they're always telling a established story just through Lego. So that works a lot more because it's there's been a few Lego games which are based on stories that they've created themselves, like the Ninjago series. Ninjago? I don't know.
Ninjago. I don't know, but I do know Ninjago's getting a film.
You did? Wasn't that in the news last week?
Did I say Ninjago? Yeah, because the universe, cinematic universe, of course.
So yeah, that's going to be interesting when it comes out. That's not the only Minecraft news either. Microsoft have announced, Microsoft Mojang, because obviously Microsoft own Minecraft now. They've announced that the Windows 10 edition of Minecraft is nearly at its beta stage and will be free for all owners of the PC version. So that would be they're essentially trying to get the 20 million owners of Minecraft on PC to upgrade to Windows 10 when it comes out by saying we'll give you more Minecraft or something.
Did they do Windows 9? I don't remember Windows 9.
No, they went 7, 8, 8.1, 10. Because why the fuck not?
Is that how they code as well? Is that why my laptop's constantly crashing? Because I just miss out bits of code.
Well, they just can't count, so the hexadecimals are all shit, aren't they? But essentially, the Windows 10 edition, one of the features, I'm not sure if bragging is the right word. Boasting? I don't know. But essentially, it will be able to connect to your version of Minecraft Pocket Edition, which is the mobile version.
Oh, Christ.
So it means that you can do the same Minecraft everywhere that you Minecraft.
You will never leave Minecraft.
When you can be sat at your computer playing on the Windows 10 version, then when you go out, you don't have to socialise or do anything else. You can be sat on the bus.
I'm waiting for the smartwatch app. I'm not going to lie, I'm waiting for the smartwatch app.
smartwatch Minecraft app.
You literally can't get away from fucking Minecraft.
Well, that was what they used to show off the HoloLens, so, you know, it's going to be everything soon.
Yeah, true.
I mean, it has probably made more money than some small countries have.
Greece.
But, yeah.
Did you see that? I just made a subtle topical joke there.
Okay, I'll listen back to it when I'm editing.
By Friday, that joke will be... when this actually
dated.
uploads, that joke will be dated. Anyway.
Yeah, so... next up on my list of gaming news for the week, it wasn't really a fast-paced gaming news, so some of these are... well, we've talked about 2 Minecraft stories, that shows you how fast this gaming week was going. But have you ever seen anything with David Cross in it?
No.
David Cross is one of the actors in Arrested Development. Or he is the voice of the crane in Kung Fu Panda.
Right, okay, yeah.
He is essentially a comedian.
Okay.
And he was asked by Bungie when they're making the game Destiny to write lines for it. And apparently he wrote a lot of jokes to try and make Destiny a bit more bouncy, a bit more humorous.
Right.
And apparently they were all cut. Which means that's why anyone who plays Destiny will know it's quite a serious game. But yeah, they got this comedian to write all these jokes and then just didn't use any of them.
Oh.
So I mean, as long as he got paid for it, that's the main thing.
Okay, yeah, very true.
At the end of the day, like...
maybe his jokes were bad.
Maybe.
Happened.
Maybe. I mean, I've only seen a few episodes of Arrested Development because one of my housemates is very into it.
Yeah.
And it seems okay, but I'm not sure if he writes that or he just acts in it.
Right.
Yes. So, next news story. 'Cause, like I say, there's not really much to add to that one. That's just kind of news for the week.
You don't have to begin every news story with the next news story.
Well, I'm struggling with the tenuous links here.
Maybe just put like number 2, number 3. I don't know. Bullet points.
This week in Japan, Fire Emblem Fates, which is the new game in the Fire Emblem, which is a strategy series by Nintendo. Well, it's developed by Intelligent Software, published by Nintendo. Had a successful launch in Japan. It's already the 4th best-selling title in the game series, and this is a series that's been going on since the 80s or something. And it has sold through 90% of its initial shipments, so it's almost sold out everywhere.
Wow.
So
I've never heard of it.
It's the first game in the series to do the Pokemon thing and release 2 copies. However, unlike the Pokemon thing, both of them are slightly different.
Right.
Because the whole Fates idea is based around 2 warring kingdoms. And I believe the difference between the 2 games is which side you're on.
Oh, okay.
Because one of them, you're born into that family.
Yeah.
And you're part of that family. I believe that's meant to be the one for newcomers to the series. And then the other one, you are born into that family, but some event happens at the beginning of the game, you end up on the other side. And that's meant to be for the veteran enjoyers of the strategy series.
Have you played them?
Pardon?
Have you played them?
I have Fire Emblem Awakening. I'm not very far in it, but I'm enjoying it so far.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've said that and you've mentioned Pokemon, and that just makes me want to play Pokemon.
Well, it's turn-based strategy, Fire Emblem, so it's like chess.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of a turn-based strategy game you'd know.
Chess. Yeah, heard of that.
So I was like, fuck it, yeah, chess.
Well, Pokemon in the fights, surely.
Yeah, but however, that's Pokemon by definition is an RPG. It's a role-playing game.
Oh, okay, alright.
It's just got turn-based combat, which is but this is like war, but it's like, okay, you move your guys, and then we'll walk up to you, and you have to stand still. That kind of thing.
Is there anything about Pokemon coming up?
Anything about Pokemon?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, before E3, they announced a new, it's like the Pokemon Battle Dungeon or Dungeon games.
Okay. Right.
There's Super Dungeon Network or something like that. It's coming to 3DS soon.
Right.
But apart from that, I don't think there's not been a main series Pokemon game announced recently. So it's whether they announce... It's whether they do, like, X2, Y2, or Pokemon Z. Because obviously it's XY that were the last ones
Oh, okay,
on.
yeah, Z would be, like, the cool one where there's that really rare Pokemon, usually.
Yeah, so it's usually, like...
Okay, yeah, that
it goes
makes sense.
red, blue, and yellow, and then such and such and such. So this would be potentially...
I haven't even played any of the last couple, I don't think. The last
Well,
one
they did black and white,
didn't.
and then they did black and white too. They didn't do... Although Pokemon Grey sounds like a bit of a stupid name. 50 Shades of Pokemon Grey. But Pokemon Z sounds like it could be a cool title
Yeah,
for a game.
I'd get that. But most people would just say Pokemons.
Pokemon's
Pokemons.
has zombies in it. Yeah. But now, onto our discussion, and I have a gaming news story that leads on to our discussion.
Tenuous.
So, as I have mentioned before, there was a Kickstarter a while back for a game called Mighty Number 9, which was the spiritual successor to Mega Man, by a developer called Concept. And they now have a new Kickstarter based on a spiritual successor to the Mega Man Legends sub-series, which is more of a 3D action-adventure game than a 2D action platformer. Now this has received a fair bit of, well, confusion mostly, because Mighty Number 9 isn't even out yet. So a lot of people are like, well, make good on your first Kickstarter, and then we'll consider funding your second Kickstarter. But this new game is called Red Ash. And it also features a main character called Beck, just like Mighty Number 9, but yeah, that is looking for funding on Kickstarter right now. This joining Shenmue 3, which I believe... I know it's met its funding title, but I'm not sure where it is currently. I know it's made an ungodly amount of money. Which brings us on to crowdfunding. Whether you be an independent developer, a veteran game developer trying to set out on your own without a publisher, or just anything really. So there are various means to go about this. You've got Patreon, which is for the independent developer. There are many people I support who are on Patreon. I don't support any Patrons currently, but I can't afford to at the moment, so... But I do think it's a good idea. There is Kickstarter, which is if you want to fund one major project, like a video game or an album or producing... I've seen webcomic artists who have done their books that way, like to fund the publishing of actual physical copies of their comics. And there is Indiegogo, which is a lot more laid back. It's a lot more anything goes compared to Kickstarter.
Right.
Because Kickstarter you actually have to apply, and only about 60% of those who apply actually manage to get on.
Oh, right.
So which brings
That's
us...
not a bad figure, 60. That's over half.
It isn't a bad figure. That is my doorbell. I should probably get that.
You're editing this week, yeah?
Yeah, I'm editing this week.
Last week, Phil left me with tons of...
Oh yes, last week there was lots of cuts. In fact, I'm probably going to cut this because you're accusing me of crimes here.
This is staying in. Your accusation is open to the world. He had a conversation with his dad. I was going to leave it in because it was quite funny, but I didn't. I trawled through all that footage and got rid of it.
I mean, it's not really footage, it's audio. You're listening and being like...
Audio footage. I got to admit, the first time when I was listening through, because Phil gave me the advice to just sort of listen through while doing something else, and I completely missed the conversation the first time I was listening through. I was like, oh fuck, where was that?
I always forget to...
And then I had to listen to the fucking thing again.
When I'm listening through the first time, I always forget to make a note of when different... Because we have on the video and in the description, we have the time codes of when stuff starts, in case you want to skip to a certain point. I always forget to write those down. So I've listened through it, and then I'm just kind of having to guess, like... And then I'm having to listen just to concentrate.
Probably about 20 minutes.
Listening to, like, little sections, like, I'm sure it was around here we started doing the discussion. And sometimes it's very ambiguous as well, because we'll go off on tangents like this, and I'm like... Is this the start of something?
This deserves its own section in the description.
Oh no, I purposely keep that very wide. Otherwise, you'd be doing like there'd be just so many time codes of just the different news stories. Because as soon as you start breaking it down any further, it's like, when do you stop?
Yeah, exactly.
Nick coughs like 56 minutes 33. Phil retorts with witty comment 56:40, and then you just
Nick
break
retorts.
down
Nick retorts 20 minutes later with witty comeback.
Yes.
If you want to hear more of this rambling, then post it in the comments, because it's nice to break up the discussion occasionally, especially if this discussion's a bit sort of. There's not a huge amounts to talk about. Like last week, Top Gear, it was just us talking really about Top Gear, and it's quite hard to break it down.
Break it down now, yo.
Break it down now, yo. Oh,
but yes, we were talking about crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding.
Before I got distracted. Yeah, so, I mean, have you supported any Kickstarters?
No. I nearly supported. I'm quite a big fan of technology, and
yeah.
There's a small company. Well, it's not actually that small anymore. A company called Pebble make a smartwatch that's compatible with both iOS and Android.
I've heard of that.
It started with just the Pebble watch, and then recently they've introduced another watch called the Pebble Time, and basically it's around the same size as the iWatch or the Apple Watch, except it uses a coloured e-ink display, and so it's got a battery life that lasts days, as opposed to hours, and it's uses the same sort of screen as a Kindle, so you never have to unlock it to like look at the time. But whereas stuff like the Apple one, you have to sort of flick up to show the time and stuff. Otherwise, it's permanently off. But this one's permanently on. E-ink display. It's got a huge battery life, and it's compatible with a lot of things. I would be getting one, but I like the Apple one. But yeah,
we've already established earlier Nick is an Apple whore.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't go off cheating with other companies, I'm afraid. My Mac's giving my Windows laptop glares all the time. It's borderline.
You wake up
sinister.
one morning, it would just be 2 Apple Macs. Be like, "Where's my laptop?" It's just like a message on screen. You never had a laptop. iTunes version 12 now updating.
It's just Siri just talking to me in an evil voice.
But I can't let you do that.
Have you seen what happens if you ask it that?
No.
It knows the film. I go, open the pod bay doors, Hal, and it goes, we're not all the same, or something like that, referring to intelligent.
Okay.
Yeah, assistance. It's pretty cool. And then eventually, if you just keep asking it, it goes, "I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that." And I'm like, "Yay!" And it's like, "Are you happy now?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I genuinely have these conversations with my phone. Oh, I'm sad.
Oh, iPhone, you're the only one who truly understands me.
You've seen 2001. No one else has. Great film.
It is.
Leonard Nimoy's son, this is what I was going to add to film news earlier, is making a Spockumentary about his dad.
Yes, I saw about this. This was
Kickstarter.
This is like using collected. Yeah.
Yeah, it raised over $600,000. So.
That's really good, though. I think that's one of those good Kickstarters. It's for a good cause.
Yeah, I like how it's from his son as well. I think that's such a nice thing to do. So that's one I would have supported if I was signed up to Kickstarter. I mean, I'm not actually really that familiar with any of these sort of startup things.
Well, I was looking up the differences before we started recording, so I can shed a bit of light on. Like the main thing from the start off is that Kickstarter is you have to apply.
Yeah.
And like Indiegogo and Kickstarter have in common is they both have a deadline. So there's differences in stuff like the cost. Like Kickstarter takes a 5% cut.
Right.
And then between 3 and 5% goes to Amazon Payments, who process the contributions.
Right. Okay.
But apart from that, everything goes to you. Now, you have to make your money on Kickstarter, otherwise you get nothing. The difference, Indiegogo, on the other hand, you don't. If you don't make your goal, you still get the money.
Oh, okay. That's alright. How does the company profit? I mean,
well, the thing is, they profit by taking a cut.
oh,
So
okay. But even if you don't make your money, they still.
Oh, Indiegogo takes 4% if you reach your goal, and 9% if you don't.
Still seems like quite a.
It seems like a small amount.
Yeah.
If you consider the vast number of projects, they're bound to make a decent.
Well, yeah, very true.
Like, consider like these, like, if a Kickstarter makes $2 million, then they're still getting like something ridiculous, like 100,000 from that.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So interesting enough, I was looking at it's a website called Inc. Seems to be more of a business journal, but it's describing the differences between them. And it seems to state that the average raised by Kickstarter is actually less than the average raised by Indiegogo. Which I thought was weird, because I thought Indiegogo was more of the niche one.
Yeah, indie.
But due to the taking all comers kind of attitude of Indiegogo, it seems to do better. But the only problem with using that over Kickstarter is obviously there's more competition because it takes everyone. Whereas Kickstarter, it cuts them down more. Like, if you're a really good project that they like, then you might get front page on Kickstarter, and obviously that will give your campaign a shot in the arm.
Yeah.
There are two others that the website lists. However, those are more for entrepreneurs to start up.
Right.
So those are far, far more.
Dragon's Den type.
They're two more. The one is called Pro Founder, and the other one is called Micro Ventures.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go too far into those, because this is mostly for the kind of this is mostly for producing artistic works, which is Kickstarter and Indiegogo and Patreon, which is what we're talking about this week. But yeah, if you wanted to see the comparison fully between them all, I'll post a link to the Inc. Article in the description of the podcast.
Where did they get that name? The Inc.
Inc. They stole it from me, obviously.
Inc. The Inc.
They just took out the Haddow. But yes, and obviously the difference with Patreon is that it's more for Kickstarter and Indiegogo are more for one big project, whereas Patreon is for ongoing projects. So if you're a YouTube creator that makes music videos, people can chip in a few pounds every time you release a major video, or it depends on how the person wants to set it up. I've seen some which are for every main series video they release, it's this much money, which I think is good because it encourages them to work on their major videos, and other ones which are simply just monthly, which is better for if your workload is inconsistent but you need a constant income because you have your high production ends of the year and your low production ends, and it keeps it consistent for supporters. And then Patreon, I'm sure, takes a cut of that as well.
You'd imagine.
So yes. I think the main thing I was going to do is like what justifies Kickstarter, and is there a risk that these big Kickstarters like Shenmue and Keiji Inafune's second Kickstarter, Red Ash, will... that, like, there's been critics saying that these big Kickstarters are taking the money from the little Kickstarters. I mean, I don't buy that as a whole. Because the thing is, I signed up to Kickstarter originally. I can't remember I think it was either funding the Cyanide and Happiness show, which was the webcomic being changed into an animation, or it was one of the Brawl in the Family projects, which was a webcomic that I supported.
Yeah.
And since I've funded about 8.
Right.
So what I'd say is, like, the big projects are good because they get people signed up, and then if you're already signed up, it's less of a ask to fund a small project.
Okay.
So that's, although that's very idealist as well. Some people are just going to sign up just to fund the things they already know.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough too. Like, at the end of the day, the Kickstarter can actually just take your money and run.
Hmm.
Like, it is purely down to the people running the Kickstarter to then follow through on their promises.
Yeah.
Like, there's only been a few major flops in Kickstarters. I'm not sure if it was Kickstarted, but I know there was a plan for a game by the people who do Yogscast. I know that was cancelled. And there's been a few other things that have just been cancelled. And yeah, they've taken the money is essentially just gone then, which is the downside. Yeah. But then this is like any investment, you need to research it. And
yeah, exactly. I mean, one thing that's good about sort of like actual investments from like an actual person, like they do on Dragon's Den and stuff, is that you can sort of go to them and prove your audience first.
Yeah.
Whereas Kickstarter, it's you're sort of taking a bit more of a gamble, aren't you?
I mean, yeah. Like a lot of the more successful Kickstarters, even before their campaigns have started, have been saying this is when our Kickstarter launches, because you've only got a finite amount of time to push it. But other ones have just come completely out of the blue and gone viral. I think it almost as an artistic work hinges on your ability to capture the imagination of your audience. To communicate your idea, your dream in such a way that they see it too. Because it's all alright saying, look at this thing, it's going to be great. But the difference between Kickstarter and Dragon's Den is more of, you need to be giving... Well, it's more of a return, it's more of a business agreement of an ongoing thing on something like Dragon's Den. That's closer to those other ones, that's pro-founder and micro-venture ones.
Yeah.
Whereas Kickstarter, it's like, well, this game, we want to really make it, we really have passion for it, it's going to be great.
Yeah, very true.
The better Kickstarter pages I've seen have concept art already. They already have a build of the game in some cases, but they just need the extra funds.
Yeah. And
also good rewards as well. Like the thing that puts me off a Kickstarter is like, it was the Shenmue one. I was like, what is this? When the reward tier for getting a digital copy of the game was pretty much the same price as if you just waited for it at retail.
Right.
And then what's the point? You know, that's not rewarding your Kickstarter.
No, yeah.
Kickstarter supporters, in my opinion. Personally, like, if I ever did a Kickstarter, it'd be making it more beneficial for them to support now than to support later.
I think they gave away the some of the Pebble watches for Kickstarter supporters.
Yeah, like if you donate a certain amount, you get this. I like the lower tiers and the higher tiers, and I like it being very very built around different contribution wants and stuff. Like some of the high end stuff is really ridiculous. Like for the ukulele one, I think if you can contribute something like
that's the banjo one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the Banjo-Kazooie. Right. Like if you can, I think it's a £5,000 contribution. Like you get to go to like a live orchestra performance of some of the composer's songs in Germany.
Right. Oh, okay. £5,000. Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you've got the money, more power to you. But that's just crazy, in my opinion.
£5,000, you could like buy the orchestra.
£5,000, you could get like an entire month in Germany for a holiday.
Yeah.
But obviously there are going to be those fans with money to spend, aren't there? And I think having that option, like it doesn't need to be taken, but it's good to have an option for both parties, really. Like if you've got the money to spend, you get to do something pretty damn cool.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're the creator, you get a lot of your money from a few people.
A few mugs with a lot of money.
Yeah, because Kickstarter's been in the news a few times for being used by celebrities and things like that, and because one of the big ones was when Zach Braff, who was JD in Scrubs, he went there to fund his latest independent film, and that raised an awful lot of money, and that was very much brought it to the American media's eyes, like, because there was this big celebrity using Kickstarter to fund his projects and stuff like that. I mean, he made his money and he's made his film, and from what I've heard, it's very good. So it's just And he also very clearly explained why he needed it, because there's some where you think, why do you need the money? Like, I'm still not sure why Shenmue 3 needs the money. It's clear the audience is there, and if lots of companies start doing that for their games, I'm just not going to be very fond of it, because you're essentially asking for the money before you've even started much work on the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, his film is... He said the main thing that he was having trouble with... Because as somebody who's interested in making films yourself, you'll appreciate this. He said that a lot of the film publishers weren't allowing him to keep the right to the final cut.
Ah. No, yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, the final cut of the movie was in someone else's hands, and it was going to be sent on test audiences and stuff like that, and he said that's what he really didn't want.
I hate it when other people get control of... Yeah.
Because it's something that I'm sure you agree on. One of the people in the film that have the most power is the editor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How you edit something makes...
How you edit something makes such a difference. Like, the director gets you the shots, but then it's the editor that puts them together in a cohesive and good way. Like,
and they should be totally different jobs as well. I mean, like, a lot of people, I can edit, but like, I know people that just can edit. Like, there's editing, like putting the clips together and stuff. But then some people you watch, and just by cutting a second off one and adding a second on another clip, it just turns it. It really does just bring it to life a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I have great respect for directors, writers, and such that go and sit in the editing room as well, and even if it isn't for the entire time, just for a bit of the time, in order to give their input into the project.
Oh yeah, directors still should have the ultimate say, I think. But
yeah, I think directors. I think over the over the producers anyway, who are going to be looking for the film that appeals the most. Like, if the director has a vision, then it really should be able to bring that across in his film, because the way that you present it could completely change what you're trying to say, especially in an artistic indie film like the sort he was Zach Braff was making.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Ronnie Barker, who I was watching a documentary on him, and apparently he used to go and sit in the editing rooms. Like, he was fascinated by the whole filmmaking process.
Yeah.
And I felt that really shows like a passion for your work. Like, because the editing side, we've both done it.
Yeah.
Sometimes can get a little tenuous, but linking all those clips together tenuously.
Tenuous links, yeah.
But yeah, I think if I ever wrote something, I'd probably want to direct it. And if I was directing it, I'd definitely want to go and
I've always
take the editor lots of cups of coffee or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always try and sit in, like, because I make quite a lot of films and stuff at my uni course, and I always, like, if I'm not editing, I watch over sort of if there is editing going on. Even if I'm just sitting on the other side of the room, it's sort of helpful to be there. But I can't. I mean, I don't necessarily enjoy editing. I mean, I love it.
It's a bit of
I love it when things come together perfectly in an edit suite, but getting to that process is so tedious. I like. I had to do a sitting for the last projects at uni, because we'd left all the filming till quite late on. Well, we'd done a lot of pre-production, so we had to move everything back a bit. And I had to spend like a day in the edit suite, and I was just like, right, I'm going for another walk. I think I drank about 6 cups of tea. I ate about 30 flapjacks. It just gets so boring and tedious, but when it does come together, it is worth it, to be fair.
Yeah. I've been teaching one of my siblings how to edit recently, because we're going to start edit sharing. And the thing is, I don't know, she actually agrees with me that if you're in the right mood for it, it can actually be kind of therapeutic.
Yeah, true.
Like, if it's just the kind of editing but you don't need to do too much thinking about or too much comparing stuff, and you're just kind of like putting it, you know exactly what you're doing and just putting it together.
Yeah. Oh, I think I slightly prefer when there's a, like, thinking, like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to portray this? Like that, I think that's a little bit more fun and takes away the repetitiveness of just putting stuff together. Because I'm like when I've just made a film and we do this thing called an assembly edit, which is just literally putting it in order.
Oh,
so
yeah.
then you can like narrow it down and choose sort of where you want to stop it, which camera side you want to use. You just put it all together at the beginning and save it as an assembly edit, and that I can't stand, because it's just like, I know what the order is, just do it automatically.
Yeah.
And I find that, and then trying to sync up the audio. Ugh. Go on about editing all day, but I'm not going to. We have sort of digressed a bit, haven't we?
Yeah, we've we've digressed off the crowdfunding topic. I mean, what I will say, like, if I just to talk about Patreon a bit before we wrap up, is that there are some. I think the best Patreons are the ones where it doesn't affect anything really. Like, it's more inconsequential, because like the best ones, like there's Team Force Star, who I've mentioned earlier, do the Dragon Ball Z parody. They're now on Kickstarter. I think they make like $10,000 a month off it.
Bloody hell!
As does a newly independent game critical. Well, I say newly. He used to work for Escapist, but Jim Sterling is now does his video game coverage through Kickstarter, and he makes around 10 grand as well. So you can make a living off it. And also, they're both very adamant that, look, this stuff is going to get made anyway.
Yeah.
Like, the difference is, I think, Sterling, that is his livelihood. Whereas I think the others have other sources of income through their merchandise and things like that. But they both emphasise saying, like, look, this is not like, we're not shaking you down for money. This is just, if you really enjoy our work, you can show us a little bit of support. Which I think is the best approach. Like, I understand some Patrons have like reward tiers, and I don't like the ones where it's like you get to see the thing like a few days early. Like, I'm not entirely fond of that, because I'm just not a huge fan of. That feels like withholding content to me. Like, I feel like stuff like releasing scripts and stuff like that, that's the kind of cool, and like the behind the scenes videos maybe being a bit earlier to you. And there's some people who do Google Hangouts, where you can have like a live session with the creator, which is cool. But I think it's you need to do it right if you're gonna do crowdfunding, because like if I was ever big enough, definitely I'd do a Patreon if I was ever in the position where it could help.
So we can afford
support.
4K cameras, so we can record our reaction videos to Man of Steel. If you want that to happen in 4K, then yeah.
Well, it'd be more if I was.
We haven't got a Kickstarter, so just send the money in cash to.
Send the money in an unmarked envelope. No, but it'd be more like if I was making some kind of videos on a regular basis, almost like, well. Thing is, the podcast doesn't cost us money to do it currently, but as if we were ever doing.
I'll have you know, I had to invest in a new hard drive to stop my Mac from exploding.
But it's going to explode regardless.
Well, yeah,
of the
very
podcast.
true.
But I think it'd be more.
It was the first time I'd used it in a little while when I edited last week.
Doing our whole future kind of thinking about, as we've done seemingly throughout this episode. It'd be more if we had like it had its own website with maybe dedicated like reviews, and all our content was under this one brand,
and maybe the ability to record in the same booth as well.
Oh yeah, we'd have proper booths. Like we'd have the proper mix boards, and
we'd be in the same room as well. In the same.
Yeah, that would cut down on lag and Skype.
Yeah,
dropping out. It'd be things like that. Would be the stuff that you'd do with a Patreon. We wouldn't just do it to like just continue doing 12 episode seasons.
Yes,
or
we could have done that today. You're only across the road at the moment, aren't you?
Well,
you're not in the place you're normally at. I'm not going to say for privacy in case someone from.
I'm not currently away at university. I'm currently at home.
Right.
And we live in the same town.
Yeah, I mean,
we could have done that.
We could have done that today. We've got this routine now.
Well, I suppose, but at the same time, it is also convenient to get up and just sit down at my computer and be like.
That's what makes
awesome.
this such an easy thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is a project we've both been sort of we haven't got a lot to do over these holidays away from uni, so we'll just make a podcast. We decided. Having said that, I do want to make a film. God, I said I wouldn't mention this, but
well, to be honest, you always want to make a film.
I know, but this one
viewers just constantly assume that Nick has a film in the works.
I always get
whether you see it or not is subject.
The script's
to
there.
Change.
I have an actor. I have someone else who's willing to help me film it. Might happen. I'm not going to launch a Kickstarter because it's very cheap to make, but you know what, that might happen, and then
I think the best Kickstarters and Patreons already have established audiences.
I'd be rubbish on Kickstarter as well because, as you said earlier, my films seem to just be constantly pushed to the sidelines.
Like I said, there's no guarantee that the film needs to be finished after it's funded.
To be fair, I nearly made Let 'Em In.
You do have a habit of not finishing films.
I nearly finished Let 'Em In, but I decided not to because, funnily enough, in the edit suite, I decided it was crap. So. And then binned the whole fucking film.
I mean, fair enough. Like, I'm
not a sellout like Disney. If I decide something's crap, it's crap.
As my brother said, you can't polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter.
Prince Charming.
Yes, I'm not sure if there's much more to say in regards to our
crowdfunding
websites. I think we've had a bit of a broad discussion this week.
We've been going for over an hour. That's not a bad little shout, is it?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got any kind of thoughts or feelings towards the recent trend towards Patreon, towards Kickstarter, towards crowdfunding, because I think the best part of it is it's more power to the people kind of way of doing things. You don't have to tick the boxes by making a mindless action movie that appeals to everyone to tie it into Genisys criticism. You are making what you want to make with people who've followed your work and trust you to make it. So that is my kind of final word.
I like that. The sort of fan base can sometimes make a project happen, actually, can't it? And it's not, you don't get enough of that, I don't think, at the moment.
I mean, both have
it's rights. It's a rights issue as well, actually, because is it ukulele?
Yeah,
like, they're not allowed to call it banjo.
Yeah, and Mighty Number 9 isn't allowed to be called Mega Man. Bloodstained isn't allowed to be called Castlevania. The only one that is Shenmue.
That's a big problem as well, because the rights are very expensive and you're not allowed to use it at all. Like, because otherwise I think I'd support, like, otherwise I think there'd be more sort of independent films based on existing franchise sort of things. Like, if someone was making an independent Terminator film, I think that would be great. Like, going back to the sort of original, sort of quite low key.
I mean, people can do that, but they're just not allowed to profit.
Well, yeah, exactly. That you wouldn't be able to.
They have to be passion projects more than anything else.
Yeah,
which
and
means
it wouldn't be sort of viable, like quick kickstarting it and then not making anything at the end.
Yeah,
and that's the problem, I think.
Unless you put a Kickstarter amount so high to cover the cost of the license,
or you just do,
but then you'd never get it funded.
Just do what Chinese manufacturers do and just sort of like change the odd letter and like make the design slightly different. You could call it Terminatrix. Make it a lady. Terminatrix Genisys, and then spell Genesis correctly, as opposed to the Y that they've chucked in the actual film. Yeah.
Yes,
I've got now.
I think. Yeah, I think that wraps the episode.
Well, that wasn't bad considering neither of us are particularly big experts on crowdfunding.
No, I think we've wrapped up this. I think we've had a nice broad discussion. We may have gone off on a tangent about editing and filmmaking, but it was tenuously linked to the cut discussion.
Tenuously linked. If you'd like to hear more digressions, leave a comment and we'll digress.
I mean, if there is any topic we ever touch on in an episode and then just kind of supposedly leave, like as part of our news discussion or as part of our other discussions, then do feel welcome to leave a comment saying we'd like to hear more of that, and we'll add it to our list of topics to talk about.
Yeah. In fact, we can literally read from a list of stuff people want us to talk about, and we'll just talk about it for as long as we can.
60 topics in 60 minutes. spend a minute talking about each one.
Just a Kiefer Sutherland spin-off, 25. You know.
Well, next week we are doing our mid-series break. Because we're going for a 12-episode first season across this summer, in order to, just as it's our trial season, isn't it?
Yeah. While we're here.
So next week we will hopefully do some kind of extra recording in order to have something to follow up.
Plus, we haven't actually, despite the fact we've been recording for over 6 weeks now, Phillip and I haven't actually seen each other.
Yeah, we actually haven't had a non-recorded discussion about anything.
We've just been staring at these Skype screens for the last 6 weeks.
We've been staring at each other's pictures.
We're like pen pals, and we'll finally meet and we'll hate each other.
Find we agree on nothing.
But no, we'll try and meet up, and we'll do maybe a reaction thing to Man of Steel if we can, or something DC related.
I mean, if we do something like that, we'll just have to release it as it'll just be a sound file that we'll sync up with the.
Maybe it'll be like we'll watch Man of Steel and then we'll do a recording just with our thoughts. It'll just be
maybe it'll just be a review. Maybe we'll get together and write a handful of film reviews.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
And then
actually,
just as short things, as weekly videos after we finish the podcast season, we can have just a few weeks of reviews, a few weeks of us playing Injustice or Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got anything to add, if you have any suggestions of what me and Nick can entertain you by doing, then put them in the description.
Don't mind, it's all got to be
in the comments.
It's all got to be audio based. You can't just say, "I want to see you throwing a pie at his face," because we can't do that unless we just add a sound effect in. I could do that.
I mean, we say audio based, like we can add visuals, but we can't do too much.
Phil. Come on, that's more editing, Phil.
Yeah, do split screen.
Let's make this as lazy as humanly possible. Come on.
Do split screen, and it'll look like we're sat in the same room reviewing the film, even though the two halves of the room are completely different.
No, we'll just green screen us in the same room. It's fine. We can do that
against a backdrop of space. And now it's a volcano. Right, so. We will see the next... Let me just look at my calendar. The next episode will be on the 24th of July.
That's definitely the Friday, yeah?
That is the Friday in a fortnight's time.
Wow.
We might be recording on the 22nd, because the 21st is my birthday. So.
Are you doing anything?
Well, we'll talk about that after recording finishes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, this one will be up on the 10th. We will see you again on the 24th. It will be probably a film and TV topic.
Unless we have something before that.
Unless there's something topical that comes up in the news in the next fortnight.
Or the Man of Steel review.
Oh, or the Man of Steel review, I guess.
You're really not. You really don't want to watch it, but we're going to watch it anyway because it's funny to laugh at how bad it is.
Yeah. So... I've been haddowinc.
And I've been NGM. Thank you for your tolerance.
See you next time.
Bye.